Pope Leo XIV's first encyclical drops May 25th. The Dicastery for the Doctrine of the Faith issues a stark warning to the Society of St. Pius X, and the Vatican Bank posts a big increase in profits. All this and more brought to you today by Church Headlines. Hello and welcome to Church Headlines, your regular Catholic news recap. I'm Brother John Frayne. Let's dive right in. Pope Leo XIV is officially heading to France. The Vatican has confirmed that the Pope will travel to France from September 25th to 28th of this year, responding to invitations from French civil authorities, the country's bishops, and the Director General of the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, otherwise known as UNESCO. While the full itinerary hasn't been released yet, church officials in France expect the Pope to visit both Paris and the Marian Shrine of Lourdes. One of the most anticipated moments will be Leo XIV's address at UNESCO headquarters in Paris, where he is expected to speak on education, culture, and the relationship between faith and reason, themes he has returned to repeatedly since his election. Cardinal Jean-Marc Aveline, Archbishop of Marseille and President of the French Bishops' Conference, described the Pope's decision as a great joy, noting that Leo XIV has shown genuine personal interest in France since almost the moment of his election, drawn both by the signs of spiritual renewal emerging among French youth and by the deep challenges of secularization and the ongoing wounds of the clerical abuse crisis. French President Emmanuel Macron also welcomed the news warmly on social media, calling the upcoming visit an honor for France and a great moment of hope for everyone. It will be Leo XIV's fifth international journey and his third within Europe. Hold on to your hats, folks, because this is a big one. Pope Leo XIV's first encyclical is set to be published this week on May 25th. The document is titled Magnifica Humanitas, Latin for Magnificent Humanity, with the full title being On the Protection of Human Dignity in the Age of Artificial Intelligence. The Pope signed the letter on May 15th, which was the 135th anniversary of Pope Leo XIII's landmark social encyclical Rerum Novarum, a choice that is clearly no coincidence. From the very beginning of his pontificate, Leo XIV has said he chose his papal name partly because Leo XIII addressed the social upheaval of the First Industrial Revolution, and that he intends to do the same for the revolution of artificial intelligence. The encyclical's release event on May 25th will feature a number of speakers, including Christopher Olah, co-founder of Anthropic, one of the largest artificial intelligence companies in the world. This week, the Vatican also formally established a new interdicastery commission dedicated specifically to the ethical and anthropological challenges posed by AI. The commission brings together representatives from several major Vatican bodies, including the dicasteries for integral human development, the doctrine of the faith, culture and education, and communication, as well as the pontifical academies for life, sciences, and social sciences. Pope Leo XIV's message is clear. Artificial intelligence is not merely a technical question for engineers and governments, it's a profound challenge to human dignity, labor, and relationships, and even humanity's understanding of itself. The Vatican intends to be an active voice in that global conversation. Cardinal Victor Manuel Fernandez, prefect of the Dicastery for the Doctrine of the Faith, issued a public statement reaffirming that the episcopal consecrations announced by the Society of St. Pius X, without a papal mandate, would constitute a schismatic act, and that formal adherence to that schism carries the penalty of excommunication under church law. This is not without historical precedent. Back in 1988, when Lefebvre himself consecrated 4 bishops without papal approval, Pope St. John Paul II described it as a grave act of disobedience and subsequently declared those bishops excommunicated, a penalty later lifted by Pope Benedict XVI in 2009. So what exactly does this mean in practice? The excommunication applies automatically to those who perform and receive the consecrations. As for the Society of St. Pius X's priests and deacons, canonical guidance from 1996 indicates they would likely also meet the criteria for formal adherence to schism, and thus would also incur the excommunication. For ordinary lay people who occasionally attend SSPX masses, the picture is more nuanced. The Vatican has consistently held that simply attending SSPX liturgies without sharing the schismatic spirit does not automatically constitute formal schism. That said, Catholics who attend SSPX chapels exclusively face greater canonical risk, and the Vatican's language this week signals a clear return to the more exacting standard of John Paul II, a significant shift away from the more conciliatory approach of recent decades. Pope Leo, for his part, is said to be continuing to pray that those responsible for the Society of St. Pius X will reconsider. Father Louis Salman, a 36-year-old Jordanian Catholic priest, has been forced to leave the Palestinian territories after Israeli authorities declined to renew his residency permit. Father Salman had become one of the most visible and beloved spiritual leaders of his generation among Palestinian Christians. He first gained international attention in 2022 when he presided over funeral rites for Palestinian-American journalist Shireen Abu Akleh. In recent years, he has served as chaplain and mentor to young Palestinian Christians struggling with emigration pressures and fear for the future of Christianity in the Holy Land, where Christians now represent only a small fraction of the population. His expulsion is being seen by many not merely as the removal of one outspoken priest, but as a deeply symbolic moment for an already vulnerable and shrinking community. Church sources say his departure followed an unusually intense security interrogation, with the Israeli officials reportedly citing his strong public presence among Palestinian youth and his use of the term occupying power to describe Israel, language that reflects widely held international terminology and is used by the Holy See itself, which has long recognized the state of Palestine. Here's some positive financial news from the Vatican. The Institute for the Works of Religion, better known as the Vatican Bank, has released its annual report for 2025, showing a net income of 51 million euros, a remarkable 55.5% increase compared to 2024. The jump was driven by improved portfolio management, favorable market conditions, and positive movement in pension fund reserves. The bank now manages around 5.9 billion euros in total client assets, and its Tier 1 capital ratio stands at 71.9%, placing it among the most well-capitalized financial institutions in the world. The Commission of Cardinals approved a dividend of 24.3 million euros to the Holy Father, up 76.1% from the previous year, in line with the bank's mission to support works of religion and charity. The bank also confirmed a change of leadership. François Pauli has taken over as the new president, following the conclusion of Jean-Baptiste de François' term. A major new global religious study gives us an interesting look at where faith is heading over the next 50 years. The newly released Status of Global Christianity report from the Center for the Study of Global Christianity projects that Islam will continue to grow at nearly double the pace of Christianity globally, potentially reaching 3.4 billion adherents by 2075. Christianity, however, is expected to remain the world's largest religion, with a projected 3.67 billion faithful by the same date. Catholics will remain the largest single Christian body, growing from approximately 1.27 billion today to a projected 1.51 billion by 2075. One of the most striking trends in the report is Christianity's dramatic geographic shift. While churches continue to empty across parts of Europe, shrinking at roughly 0.4% annually, Christianity is growing vigorously in sub-Saharan Africa, parts of Asia, and Latin America. The report also pushes back against predictions of growing secularization. The number of atheists and agnostics worldwide is actually projected to decline substantially over the next half-century, as religious populations continue to grow faster than secular ones. Did the Vatican really give a special award to the Iranian ambassador? Several Iranian media outlets reported that Pope Leo XIV had personally granted the Vatican's highest diplomatic honor exclusively to Iran's ambassador to the Holy See. The story spread rapidly, prompting criticism of the Pope online. The award in question is the Grand Cross of the Order of Pope Pius IX, which is technically the highest diplomatic honor the Holy See currently bestows on diplomats and heads of state, including King Charles III on his most recent visit to the Pope. The Vatican press office, however, has clarified that the award is a customary decoration routinely given to ambassadors after 2 years of service to the Holy See. On May 12th, it was presented to 13 ambassadors total, Iran's ambassador being just one of them. Friends, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so that you never miss out on the most important church headlines. And as a thank you, here's a picture of a smiling bear. And that wraps up today's edition of Church Headlines. Thank you for joining us, and God bless.